From blood-curdling horror to epic survival stories, these films will have you gripping the edge of your seat. Whether it's apocalyptic wastelands, gripping survival tales, or hordes of the undead, this list has everything to satisfy your zombie cravings. Stick around until the end. We've got a hidden gem that will leave you terrified and thrilled. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for your weekly dose of movie recommendations. Alright, grab your weapons and survival kits. It's time to dive into the top 10 best zombie movies. Starting with number 10, Army of the Dead. With the abandoned, walled city of Las Vegas overrun with zombies after a disastrous government fault, billionaire casino magnate Bly Tanaka realizes he has left something behind in Sin City, $200 million. But for the time being, his mountains of cash are safe behind an impenetrable casino vault. Now Tanaka is willing to pay $50 million to decorated former mercenary Scott Ward and his handpicked team to retrieve the money before the U.S. president nukes the entire city. Indeed, this is a life-changing offer Scott cannot refuse. Nevertheless, the rules have changed, and this time, the horde of the walking undead seems to be more organized than they might have expected. Above all, time is running out. Number 9. #Alive. In Seoul, the gamer Oh Jun-woo is sleeping when his mother leaves money for him to go shopping in the grocery. Out of the blue, infected people become violent, attacking other people on the street of his condominium. Soon he learns from the news that a virus is turning people into flesh-eater zombies. Without any food, Jun-woo survives locked in his parents' apartment, but when the building runs out water, he decides to commit suicide hanging himself in the living room. However, a beam of laser calls his attention, and he sees a survivor in an apartment on the building in front of his. Using his drone, he contacts the beautiful Kim Yoo-bin, who is living alone in her building. She provides supplies to him, and he decides to scavenge his neighbor's apartment looking for water and food. He finds 2 walkie-talkies, and now he can communicate with Kim. But the zombies are dangerous and threaten their lives. Number 8. Cargo. In Australia, Andy and his wife Kay are fleeing from a zombie epidemic with their baby daughter Rosie in a boat. They are running out food and Andy moors his boat nearby a sinking yacht. He goes there to scavenge supplies and returns safely to his boat with some supplies. While Andy is resting with Rosie, Kat decides to go to the yacht to search more and is bitten by a zombie. Andy decides to take Kay to the hospital and uses an abandoned car to go with his wife and Rosie. However, he startles with a zombie aboriginal on the road and crashes his car on a tree, injuring Kay with a branch. She turns into a zombie and bites Andy in the arm. Now he has a few hours to find someone in the middle of nowhere to foster Rosie. Number 7. 28 weeks later. Almost 6 months have passed since the outbreak of the rage virus that virtually destroyed civilization of mainland Britain. The infected have starved to death, and the island has been declared virus-free. A U.S. task force has arrived to set up a colony of survivors on the Isle of Dogs. Dawn, one of the survivors from the original outbreak, works as a caretaker at the safe zone and welcomes his 2 children, Tammy and Andy, who had been out of the country on a school trip, back into the country. However, an innocent adventure from the 2 kids begins a chain reaction that leads to yet another outbreak of the virus, and once again the survivors are left fighting for their lives. Number 6. World War Z. Having retired as UN investigator, Jerry Lane devotes his time to wife Karen and their whining brat daughter Constance and Rachel in Philadelphia, until it becomes the next site of a globally spreading mystery epidemic turning bitten people into rabies-like zombies. His clueless former chief, Deputy Secretary General Thierry Umutoni, recalls him to the U.N. emergency team, thus offering the whole family a spot aboard the safe air carrier. Jerry joins the Army veterans on reconnaissance to Korea, where a rogue CIA agent's suggestion proves worthless, then to Israel, where a Mossad contrarious 10th man had the foresight to respond to a vague Indian pandemic threat by erecting a walled Jerusalem, only to see an undead flood overtake it. His last-minute escape flight must deal drastically with an infected passenger before crashing in Cardiff, near a WHO research facility, where he combines and tests a daring out-of-the-box camouflage strategy inspired by weird observations. Number 5. Planet Terror. In a rural town in Texas, go-go dancer Cherry Darling, with a leg/machine gun, decides to quit her low-paying job and find another use for her numerous, useless talents. Cherry's ex-boyfriend, El Rey, at the Bone Shack, a restaurant owned by J.T. Haig, a group of military officials, led by the demented Lieutenant Muldoon, are making a business transaction with a scientist named Abby for a deadly biochemical agent known as DC-2, codename Project Terror. But when Muldoon learns Abby has an extra supply on hand, he attempts to take Abby hostage, and Abby intentionally releases the gas into the air. As gun-legged Cherry Darling and one-man wrecking crew El Rey try to save the world from a horde of flesh-eating zombies. Number 4. Dawn of the Dead. Upon finishing a long shift working as a nurse, Anna goes home for a much-needed rest. Not noticing the emergency television broadcasts, seeing the daughter of a neighbor tearing out her husband's throat sends Anna into survival mode. Fleeing from her home, she sees the extent of the carnage that has ensued in the world around her. Anna groups up with other humans who have not been infected in a bid to remain safe. They find a haven in an empty mall, which has the supplies they need for now. Planning ways to keep their numbers up while the zombie population increases dramatically, the group face a number of challenges. Trapped in the mall, they make plans to move on, in hopes of finding an infection-free zone in which they can regain some sense of normality. Number 3. Zombieland. With America infested with hordes of decomposing zombies from end to end, one of the few zombie apocalypse survivors, Columbus, manages, somehow, to live to fight another day, while on his way to Ohio to check in on his family. Surrounded by mayhem and destruction, Columbus joins forces with the no-nonsense pro-survivalist, Tallahassee, bent on continuing the dangerous road trip through Armageddon. However, as the band of zombie hunters is joined by the stranded girls, Wichita, and her younger sister, Little Rock, an unexpected change of plans will lead them to the last unspoilt place, the Pacific Playland Amusement Park in Los Angeles. Number 2. The Wailing. In the small village Gakseong in South Korea, police officer Jong-gu investigates bizarre murders caused by a mysterious disease. His partner relays gossip that a Japanese stranger, who lives in a secluded house in the mountains, would be an evil spirit responsible for the illness. Jong-gu decides to visit the stranger along with his partner and a young priest who speaks Japanese. They find an altar with a goat head, pictures on the walls of the infected people that died, and an attacking guard dog that prevents their departure until the stranger arrives. Jong-gu finds one shoe of his beloved daughter, Hyojin, in the house of the stranger, and soon she becomes sick. His mother-in-law summons the shaman Ilgwang to save her granddaughter while a mysterious woman tells Jong-gu that the stranger is responsible. Number 1. Train to Busan. Reluctantly, the divorced father and workaholic hedge fund manager, Suk-woo, boards the hyperfast KTX bullet train from Seoul to Busan accompanied by his estranged young daughter, Suin, to visit her mother. However, against the backdrop of an unprecedented threat in the shape of a virulent zombie outbreak, a grotesque undead stowaway will soon enmesh both passengers and train crew in a frenzied battle for survival, as one compartment after another succumbs under the sheer volume of the freshly infected flesh-eaters. Suddenly, amid this unrelenting miniature hell on Earth, hope seems to lie in the train's final destination. Nevertheless, can the few remaining survivors fight to stay alive to the bitter end? If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. Top Select 10. Like and share the video. Thank you.